Hello, I'm Chris Lemaire. I'm one of the programmers at the American Cinematheque. And I'm very happy to welcome you to our virtual Q&A for the incredible new film, Judas and the Black Messiah. Tonight, we are very excited to have the filmmaker Shaka King, along with the stars Daniel Kaluuya and Dominique Fishback joining us. Our moderator tonight is Jacqueline Coley, who is a film journalist and the editor for Rotten Tomatoes. So thanks for tuning in, and I'd like to turn it over to Jacqueline.
Wow. First of all, thank you, Chris, for that incredible introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Coley. I'm the awards editor at Rotten Tomatoes. And well, after that trailer, I think we've all kind of set the stage to chat about this incredible film. So without further ado, let me welcome the filmmakers. Of course, we have Daniel Kaluuya, star of Judas and the Black Messiah, playing Chairman Fred Hampton. Of course, Dominique Fishback, who plays his fiance and partner. And then also we have Deborah Johnson. And then, of course, we have producer, writer, director, Shaka King. Hello, everyone.
Hey, hi.
Dominique, I apologize. I was literally about to call you Dominique Johnson because I just watched.
Yeah, I was saying somebody asked me Deborah, and I was saying Dominique earlier. I was like, I'm saying my own name.
It was that close for me saying it because you literally had me just there crying about you a minute ago. But Shaka, I'm gonna start with you with this because I know it was a long road to bring this story to audiences, but in that road, you guys made a very, I think, incredible decision to make this into a film that was accessible, to make this into a genre piece that not only told the story of Fred Hampton, but more importantly, captivated an audience. And I think Daniel, when I spoke to him, said that you and Ryan wanted to put the medicine in the food sort of thing. So talk about sort of the inception of the story and the decision to make this a really sort of like gritty crime drama.
It was baked into the pitch that the Lucas brothers laid forth. They said, we want to make a movie about Fred Hampton and William O'Neill. That's The Departed, set inside the world of COINTELPRO. And I immediately saw the movie. I being a fan of 70s crime dramas, but, no kind of Hollywood entity having seen anything in my work to lead them to believe that I could make such a thing, but me feeling confident that I could, it was exciting that I was being brought something like this, so that the genre filmmaker inside of me was excited by that, and then just the person I am was excited about the opportunity to bring forth these ideas that Chairman Fred Hampton espoused, and that the Illinois chapter and the Black Panther Party as a whole brought forth into the world and really popularized, in the 60s and 70s. So it was just like really something that felt perfect for me. And it's funny because you mentioned the sort of medicine inside the applesauce, because we got that line from Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., something that he says when we talk about, putting these ideas in this kind of palatable vessel. But something that I think I first discovered in reading Chairman Fred Hampton's words and in seeing him deliver these speeches, just the opportunity and the potential for those scenes to be set pieces themselves. And so you can tell, you look at the two trailers that we have.
I think we may have lost Shaka.
Oh no.
Oh no. It's okay, we go roll with it.
Johnson's poem.
Oh, there he is. He's back.
Oh. I had a feeling. I was like, this is what happened. This is what happened. I was like, let me just keep talking and maybe they're hearing me. I was like, keep talking. I'm not gonna fuck up. Maybe they'll keep hearing me. No, but that's not. So what I was saying was, what was the last thing you heard?
I think the last thing we heard was right after you were saying, that was something that you guys took directly from Fred Hampton, and then that next thought is that.
From Chairman Fred Hampton, yeah. Jr. So what I was saying was that we talked about presenting the movie that way, like taking these ideas, making them very palatable. But what I realized upon reading Chairman Fred Hampton's words and seeing him deliver these speeches, and it was really confirmed, once we cast these wonderful actors in Dale and Dominique specifically, I'm speaking, that those scenes and that storyline also had set pieces as well. It wasn't just a genre element that would be appealing to an audience that wasn't familiar with Chairman Fred's politics. You look at our two trailers we cut, And they're not structured around the genre elements. They're structured around the I'm a Revolutionary speech, and they're structured around the poem that, you know, Deborah recites to Fred. And so we just felt like we had just a holistically entertaining movie that had a love story, it had pathos, it had politics, it had all the genre elements that just kind of could tick every box.
Yeah, well, don't sell those trailers short, because those trailers were fire. I remember that. Like, I have friends of mine who are not really about the whole biopic. They saw that first trailer, like, yeah, we going. This is like that trailer really grabs you. And I think it's from the thing you sort of alluded to, is there's an entire Black producing team behind this, and mostly Black creative team. And I think that sort of like filters through that. And so specifically within the community, I found a whole bunch of Black people talking to me about, like, I didn't know this about Fred Hampton. And I know for you, Daniel, like, this was a bit of a discovery for you as well, to sort of find the man behind the icon. So talk about how you joined the project. I'm guessing it was probably through, obviously, Ryan, but talk about, you know, you first started getting that script.
Yeah, Ryan and Zinzi Kugler pulled me to the side during the Black Panther issue, and they were like, "Oh, making a film about Chairman Fred. Shaka's directing, Lakeith's in it as well. We want you to play Chairman Fred." I was kind of really taken aback. Then I saw Shaka. I met Shaka. They sent a treatment. It was an incredible treatment, like a 2-page treatment. And then I met Shaka in New York. And then for me, I kind of vibe for like, what's someone's reasons and intentions of where they're at in their life, as opposed to like, you can get a vibe of what kind of film is going to be by like just the reasons why someone's doing it, you know? So I just love the reasons why Shaka's doing it. I just fuck with Shaka as well. And then we went to, then I think award season was finished, and then the first script I read was Judas and the Black Messiah. And then and I was just like, I read it first time and I didn't really read the film. I just read Chairman Fred. I was just so taken aback and blown away by his words and how he thought and he was thinking and how he was written, you know. And then the second time I read it as a film, you know, and then I was like, yep, I'm in. So I looked around, I was like, yeah, say less. I mean,
I love that. And I hope I'm not putting words into his mouth, because I think I saw this in an interview where, Shaka, you said that the 3 principles in this story were in your mind when you were writing it. And so, Dominique, and I know that you've read many versions of the script, but after the very first one, you came back and you had some things that ended up being in the final film, which I think is absolutely incredible, that after your first blush, you were talking about the poetry aspects. So I wonder if you could sort of just tell that a little bit right now.
Yeah, so I was reading a book called The Taste of Power by Elaine Brown. It was a Panther in the Oakland chapter. And I was like, if Hollywood is not going to cast me as a romantic lead, then I'm going to write one myself. So I started writing a Romeo and Juliet, like Black Panther Party-esque love story. And then I get an email that Shaka is working on this script and that Daniel and Lakeith were attached. Daniel will be playing Chairman Fred. And he wanted me for Deborah Johnson. And I was like, I knew from college, I knew about Chairman Fred. I didn't know about the Rainbow Coalition or all the things that he was doing in Chicago, but I knew that he was 21 years old when he was assassinated. I knew that there was an informant that helped, and I knew that his pregnant fiance was in the bed with him and she showed his body, but I didn't really know all the details. So I meet with Shaka in a cafe in Brooklyn, and we're just kind of like just talking. And I'm saying, you saying the role is mine, or you gotta talk to some people, because I was not trying to get too hype, you know what I mean? And he said, he leaned back, kind of laughed, leaned back like he is now. He was like, it's yours. and then he says, so read the script and let me know your thoughts. And then I read, and I said, I have 2 thoughts, but I don't want to overstep. And he said, you'll be playing her, you can't overstep. Give me your notes. And he called them notes. I wasn't going to be so bold, but he called them notes. And then I said, one of the first things she says is, do you like poetry? And then we never hear one, but I think we miss an opportunity. He says, I think you're right. Do you want to take a shot at that poem? Which I was not expecting. So.
Which is so great. For folks that don't know, you are a playwright and a poet in your own right. We're going to be seeing Dominique Fishback stories very, very soon. Trust and best believe. But I think it's so incredible that moment is there, because it sort of speaks to Deborah, the character. The thing I love about the film is it is an antagonist story. It is also a love story. But when you look at the three principles, I love how Deborah is the only one that really gives it to Fred. And I think it's very important when you discuss the movement, because I know you spoke to two of the women from that time, obviously Deborah herself, but also Huey's widow. And the thing you got from them was, one, the poetry, which we already spoke about, but also how she carried herself, both with his legacy and the fact that, like, elements of how you portrayed after he passed, after he died. And so I just want to tell folks about your conversations with her, because I think it's really important to talk about how these women kept this legacy going.
Yeah, we went to Chicago and we sat around a table for over 7 hours, and Chairman Fred Jr. asked why each and every one of us wanted to do this film. And he said, I'm gonna start with you, and he pointed to Daniel. And Daniel was so calm, cool, and collected. And I remember Daniel told his story, and I sat there feeling like that Daniel galvanized me. Now, he inspired me, and I wanted to rise to the occasion. And I felt myself in that moment already kind of seeing what it would be like to fill those shoes, and thinking, like, how would I want to carry on Daniel's legacy were he Chairman Fred? Like, how can I fill that space? And Mama Okua talked about how the Panthers were very disciplined and they didn't speak out of turn, and there was some things she wouldn't say to Chairman Fred that I would say, but I knew that the character needed urgency. So on the one end, we have that, we want to make sure she has her own voice, her own beliefs, and that we hear them. But on the other end, I wanted to respect the hierarchy and how she spoke to Chairman Fred. So that was a level that I had to go into the dialogue and say, how can I do it in a way where we show that power that she has, but also show the level of respect.
Yeah, I mean, it's a triple sort of like role that has to do that. Obviously what Keith does and what you do and what Daniel does, they all really have to, I think, go together for the emotional, like, resonance of the film. But Shaka, I want to bring something to you, because I feel sometimes when we talk about films like this, that are from the Black experience, that have a lot, I would say, like, commentary to them, we don't get to talk about the craft. And I really want to talk about the speech scene that was in the trailer where he's like, I am a revolutionary, because looking at it's powerful. When I was going back this last time, the technicalness of that shot, you have so many background folks that have to commit fully to that moment to make you feel like you were literally living in that speech. You have Daniel literally like on his tippy toes coming across the sort of podium. And then of course, what Lakeith and Jesse and everyone's doing. So I just want you to take us to that day, how you set up those shots. There's so much camera work, and it's so visceral in that moment. And it's a huge part of how we build the legacy of who Chairman Fred Hampton was.
And it's also, the junction point in the story that connects all four storylines. It connects, obviously, Chairman coming out of prison, discovering that his dream is only grown in his absence. And at the same time, he's lost this person close to him. Deborah, happy to have her man home, excited for this new life they're about to start together. But at the same time, she's been also considering the fact that she's bringing a child into a war zone, as she says. Keith, who for the first time in the entire movie, the emotional connection that he started to feel to these people, it's turning into the beginnings of politicization, some kind of politicization. And just as he's going through that, his handler spots him, or rather he spots his handler in the audience, seeing him go through this transformation. And so we had these, we built these plot points into this scene, and we knew that 3 of them would only be conveyed with looks, and which was exciting for me, because that's just like fun filmmaking. And we simultaneously knew that this was the prize fight in terms of speeches that Fred Hampton has to deliver. And so it was a juggling act in the sense of wondering if we had enough screen time to pull all those things off, to incorporate all of those shots that we designed to each convey, a piece of the storyline. And you, especially seeing Daniel give the performance that he gave, it was very hard to want to cut away from that, and so, choosing when to leave him and all those things. And I'll be honest with you, everything of all the, days that we shot that scene in one day. And of all the days we had some truly like incredible, one of a kind days. That day is the most special in the sense of everything feeling incredibly realistic, starting from the fact that Daniel, had been away from the set for a week doing press for Clean and Slim. And Fred Hampton had been in prison away from his comrades, both of them unable to share their gift, with the world, and kind of clamoring for that moment. And the architecture of the space looking like, Gladiator's Coliseum, and you have him waiting kind of in the dungeon, and you hear his folks just calling him out, and he's just like, it's like a concert, you know what I mean? He's backstage and they're calling his name and driving him up, and then he gets up there, which all happened in real time. Like Daniel didn't see how many people were there. He walked into that like for real, And so when you see him look around like that, he's really looking around like that, he's having that in real time. So it was like, how do we create the circumstances so that this all feels real? And we, you try to do that every day, but I think that's the day where we came closest to everything feeling real and heightened, so that, the speech that he's giving, those people are reacting to Daniel. You know what I mean? Like they're reacting to Chairman Fred. They're in a movie, but they're really reacting to Daniel, and they're calling him Fred, but they're treating him like, they're calling him Fred and treating him like Fred, but they're reacting to him. And he is in turn feeding off of them. And it's just, you're seeing them level up and level up and level up. It was like, he was the MVP, but they were the MVP too,
I mean, it's a real symphony. I encourage anyone, even if you've seen the film, just go back and isolate that scene. Don't even listen to it with words, because sometimes I think what Daniel is doing will distract you. Just watch from the tear that you do, Dominique, to that look that Lakeith gives to just Jesse with that like cheese grin. I mean, that is a symphony. And again, why I think this film is something that now that it's gotten to audiences seeing their reaction, it's from moments like that. But I guess Daniel, Shaka let me know that you think of press as jail. That's cool. And honestly, as someone that does a bunch of interviews, I'd feel like it's jail too. I've watched a lot of interviews the past week that y'all have had to do. I'd feel like it was jail too. But let me liberate.
When did I say this? When did I say that?
You said he was Fred Hampton was in prison.
Oh, right.
Oh. Yeah.
I was like, did we have an offline?
I know that's like, yeah.
I was like, I don't remember saying that.
She's quick with it. She's quick with it. You see that? She connected that. She's like, no.
It's okay. I'm so messing. But I do like how you coming back into that moment, because like what he said is completely right. Everything changes. But I can imagine for you, like I've read that script. There's not any other dialogue. There's a lot of notes from what everyone else is doing, but you know that you are saying the speech over that. How you approach that day, because I know, was this the scene that you said where you felt like you got the voice? Because the voice of Fred Hampton, I know was hugely important to sort of figuring out how to play him. And although there's a lot of tape on him, not as much as you would like when you have to hold an entire movie with someone.
Yeah, no, it's just one of the most frustrating things about this current moment is now everyone's releasing all this Fred Hampton footage. And I was like, I could have really used it. I really used a 30-minute interview instead of the 1-minute snippet that me and Audrey had to kind of build a whole voiceover. So yeah, that day was I woke up 20 minutes late. I didn't throughout the whole shoot. I never woke up late, and that day I woke up late because I was tired. I think I was tired, and I woke up late. I completely missed all my alarms. Woke up late. Still did what I had to do, like I listened to Malcolm X and all that stuff in the morning, speeches, and that came in. And then, and then I when I walked in, I remember Lakeith came from nowhere, hugged me, and then left, because he does that sometimes. He just comes in and leaves. And then Shaka just came out to me and goes, yo, we're shooting rehearsal, right? I'm like, yeah, we're shooting rehearsal. And so then, but it's to be honest, I didn't think about it. I think, because I kind of knew all the speeches before we started shooting, because I was using it to dialect and this is that and the other. So by the time we got there, I was like, okay, I know it. Like I know it. And I know when I get to a point when I don't want to look at it anymore, it's that I don't want to know it too much. I want the present moment to come in and feed the rest of the learning. You know what I'm saying? Which is like the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like the background artists in Cleveland, they were incredible. Like they were like listening. You know, they were listening. When you're like, and when you have that, it's like I could have done it, and if they weren't listening, it would be a different performance. You know, I would be like forcing it. You know, like trying to convince them, but they were there ready. And yeah, so I just kind of checked out. That is and then it sounds like I don't remember. Like when I see it, I don't remember the takes. I don't remember which one it is. I don't know what I did in each take. I didn't try and calculate it. I was just like, just be here and just be a vessel. And it was the first speech that we in the schedule that we said his actual words. So it was just like, and it felt like Chairman Fred was in the room just by like how everyone was reacting and just how the vibe of the room was. It was just like I checked out. I don't really remember, but I do remember there was one bit when like I told these guys we was about to do another take, and then I was like, all right, cool, ready. I'm like, wait, hold on, what's that out? And then like I had messed up my hand by banging on the thing, but I only realized it when I was about to do it, and my body was like, yeah, don't do that again, don't do that again. Joyce had to give me ice, had to ice it, and then I never banged it ever. Like that's what I'm saying. I didn't remember things. I know I did things and I don't remember. But yeah, you just stay present.
That is absolutely incredible. There's so many things that I know you guys engineered from a production standpoint, but you can't engineer a moment like that where you literally broke your hand on the podium, like, or hurt your hand on the podium, smashing it down. And that's incredible right there. Also, the fact that y'all did that in one day. I did a double take on that because that is a lot to get done in one day. Good on y'all. Dominique, I'm gonna bring it to you because I thought this detail was incredible because I talked to a lot of writers/actors and a lot of them say, oh, well, I was an actor first. And so whenever I'm trying to write something for a character, I go back to my actor brain. But with you, I think it's the opposite because you actually employ your writer side of who you are to find your characters because you journal within them all the time. And I would just be interested if you could maybe talk about something that you wrote down that found its way into your performance from the journal, or something that you really sort of took with you during one of the scenes that you did. It'd be great if it was like the you and Fred in bed scenes, but it's okay, whichever scene you got.
I carry that journal around, it's like right there. I think my first day on set was the first scene that she sees Chairman Fred. So I think I was doing a lot of Nina Simone songs. There's like Backlash Blues, Do What You Gotta Do, Just Like a Woman. All of those songs really resonated to me when I was trying to find who she was. And I remember writing a journal entry where Shaka decided that she was a journalism major. And so I kind of went into that scene where she hears Chairman Fred speak, saying, how come some people are born knowing their purpose and other people don't? Like, how is that fair? And I'm hoping that when I hear Chairman Fred, I'm hoping that it wakes something up in me because I'm not feeling connected to this thing so much. So that was the kind of thoughts that I had going into it from a journal entry that I wrote. And then a lot of times I made poems about their first moments together. So the kiss that they have is called Have You Ever Kissed a Silver Tongue? I did once. It shot through me like what is it? Shot through me like, burned through me like fireworks, something like that. I don't even remember it. But it's called Have You Ever Kissed a Silver Tongue? So I started acting and writing when I was 15 in a theater program. And so now they kind of go hand in hand, even if I'm not necessarily writing a character. The journaling is a way that I get into who they are so that, when a camera does happen to fall on or Shaka puts an edit and its reaction, we could believe that there's a whole world behind her eyes and in her body.
Awesome. And we're going to get into some questions here in just a moment. But Shaka, I also want to bring it back to this one because I was looking this up too, because there's been this conversation about, this is more than just a Fred Hampton biopic. This is a movie that has more to that. It has a love story. It has, to everything that you said, it talks about family, it talks about politics and revolution. But I feel that sometimes there's this pressure on historical things from the Black experience, that we feel like we have to get everything in there. And I was just curious, like, from your standpoint, looking back on it now and how you guys brought this film to audiences, if you feel like with folks like Ryan and with you now, if we will get a chance to see more of these films, and you won't have to go through the struggles that y'all had to do to get this made, because there was a lot of folks who didn't understand maybe how this film was going to be a huge mass appeal so that you could make it the way that you wanted to make it.
I don't know how to answer that question, because, Ryan was coming off the success with Billion Dollar Feature. And he was the producer on this film, and he had challenges getting a studio to take a flyer on us with movie stars attached and another producer willing to put up half the budget, so, and I don't, I know we don't have box office numbers available. I don't think we're gonna outpace Black Panther with this film. But I think another thing that we don't necessarily have going for us is that we don't have the measure of box office success to say, okay, we have definitive proof that this movie is a hit, despite the fact that, it's being talked about the way it is. And it's clearly making, I think, an imprint upon the culture, and not just Black folks, I think, worldwide, and so I don't know. I think regardless of whether it's easier going forward or not, we, as in, me, folks like Ryan, folks like all the Black filmmakers, who come before me and whose shoulders I stand on, will continue to make work just as we always have.
I mean, I hope so too. And, not to jinx anything, but God willing, if, this film when this film is nominated for Best Picture, that will be the first time in the history of the Academy that a trio of Black men have produced a Best Picture film. And that, to me, I think is going to be something that this film is going to have in its legacy. So I'm very excited to see that. Academy voters, if you're watching, let's pay attention. I'm going to take it to the audience questions real quick. And I'm actually going to start with this one right here. And it's actually for you. This person says, for Mr. King, you did a fantastic job while showing that while Bill's actions were obviously horrendous, we mustn't forget he was also a victim in a way. I think you made it perfectly clear who the real enemy is. And in doing so, it isn't easy at all when dealing with a subject as important as Fred Hampton's murder. Can you tell us a bit how you went about achieving this?
Good question. It took a long time for myself and my co-writer Will Burson, to stop referring to O'Neill as a sociopath, because what we were doing in doing that, even if we believed that that was the case, what we were doing is we were preventing ourselves from A, creating the best character we possibly could for the movie, and B, we weren't giving ourselves an opportunity to contextualize his actions and make a character that an audience could ultimately see themselves in, which, otherwise would defeat the purpose in terms of making him one of the central characters of the movie. And so the first thing we had to do was stop calling him a sociopath. And then what was the hardest thing really was that because we were making a movie about a real person, and a person who, the people who we really felt we needed to satisfy with this film first and foremost are people who hate this man, right? And the family members of Chairman Fred Hampton and his comrades, they hate this man deeply. And there's been a lot of misinformation put forth about his relationship with Fred Hampton, i.e. that they were friends, i.e. that he was Fred Hampton's bodyguard, neither of which were true. And these were things that we went to the movie thinking, or rather went to the screenwriting process thinking. And so it was tricky, like, how do you make a compelling movie about a guy who, committed this act of betrayal, but at the same time, how much of a betrayal was it if they weren't actually friends and didn't have a personal relationship? So it was very much like, just a lot of, honestly, us manipulating the viewer in the sense of us making you think that here's a guy who, and by us, all of the credit, damn it, needs to go to Lakeith, because it's really, he's the guy who's making this character compelling. His behavior is his behavior, but it's seeing Lakeith and how he's jittery and nervous and scared, and whether or not you're rooting for him to fail or not, you're just still watching a person go through this process. And on a human level, just watching him, and especially watching Lakeith do it, it affects you, you know. And so it's hard to make a movie it's hard to make a character compelling who really only very briefly looks like he's going to do the right thing. For the bulk of the movie, he's very clearly motivated exclusively by self-interest. So it was a tricky dance, you know, that I always have to give the ultimate credit to Lakeith, but I also have to give a lot of credit to, you know, Kristen Sprague, my editor, you know, and us just really finding that performance that allows you to go on this ride with this guy who commits this despicable act, but who you, even if you don't necessarily empathize with him by the end of the film, you do feel like you have some context, I think, for his behavior.
Yeah. I mean, look, Judas in our Judas literally in Jesus Christ Superstar, even Aaron Burr, like that's the one, if you fall, you're gonna fall pretty hard, trying to get that quote unquote villain correct. So it's incredible what Lakeith did. This one I'm going to direct to Dominique and then to you, Daniel. How difficult was the dichotomy of bringing Fred Hampton to life while telling such a traumatic story when Black trauma is often exploited on film? And Dominique and Daniel, I'll frame this because I know the assassination scene was filmed. You guys filmed it on the 50th anniversary. And I can only imagine, I think, Danielle, you spoke about how it was something that physically affected you getting prepared for it. So you want to talk about maybe that part about it?
Me?
Yes. Yeah. Because I guess I read where you had like nerves the night before, like knowing that you guys were going to film this moment that is horrific.
Yeah. I mean, from the beginning of filming, I just like prayed to be a vessel that this story could, you know, this love story could flow through. And I remember talking to Shaka and saying, like, how I want to make sure that we believe that by the end of the film, the sacrificial gesture that she does is believable. How do we get there? So, you know, by the time we ended up filming, it was towards the end of shooting. And I just remember the night before, my stomach was in knots, my heart was beating so fast. And I had this overwhelming feeling that something bad was going to happen. And I was like, what's going on? I was texting one of my castmates. And I was like, I'm not understanding. And then I realized, oh, my body can't really tell the difference between what I've allowed myself to believe and how present and open I let myself be for this process to tell this, to honor Mama Akua and Chairman Fred, to honor the story, that by the end of filming, I really couldn't tell the difference. And so I remember just kind of getting to set, needing a little bit more time in the trailer, but also not like when I got there in the replica apartment, it was so heavy, the energy was heavy. And I remember like, I felt like every time like Daniel would move, I kind of would like move to her. I felt like, Dom, and I'm having commentary, you're being very weird. But I couldn't help myself. I just like laid there, like tucked by him. It was really weird. And then we talked to Shaka, like maybe we should have had a therapist on this. Yeah, but it was also, it made me though think about experiences in my life. Sometimes when bad things happen or we witness trauma, we don't know why we witness it. And for this, I was allowed to bring those instances in my life to story. I'm not a stranger to gunshots, right? I know what they sound like. I know what it sounds like to be close, right? So I always upset, had PTSD. Why did this happen? You know, I don't understand. Being able to bring that level of authenticity from my spirit, from my DNA, to this story is I guess the honor for when something like that happens in your life.
Wow, that's an incredible way to challenge something painful into great art, really. And then Daniel, I'll bring it to you sort of on the same thing, because I know you talked about how you and Lakeith were partners in this, in the sense that like a day that he's probably going through it, you kind of have to be there, and then vice versa, he was there for you. So talk about how you guys sort of, I think, maybe leaned on each other during this to get through those more, I would say, difficult parts of it.
It was just kind of like it was like an understanding. I think Lakeith was going through it. Lakeith was really going through it that day. You know what I'm saying? So whatever, I think there was a take when, correct me if I'm wrong, Shaka, like you wouldn't know anyway. When I was off camera and I did the speech when I give the money to Doc, I think I gave it all to Lakeith when it was a close up on Lakeith. I gave it all to him. Do you understand? And then so then yeah, I think it's just like you want it, and I think there was a moment when I was setting. Yeah, Shaka, go on. What you say?
You definitely. I told you to give it all to him.
Yeah, you did.
Because I knew, because he was. I was like, he's gonna melt down, and
Yeah.
he did, and he melted down. He melted down that day. In that moment, he was done.
To be honest, like Shaka really supported us on that day. If I'm being real, I'm being real. There's not really. It was hard to make decisions. It was hard to be as sharp as you'd want to be in a scene in general, because you're just having these emotions that are not the emotions of the scene, that are just you emotions, and you still have to be a professional within it, you know. And yeah, it was really. I felt it was a day when I felt the most weight, you know, of what was happening. It was just like, and I mean, he's coming out of the trailer and dressed as Chairman Fred on his 50th anniversary is a very surreal experience. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, and yeah, it was yeah, and Lakeith did all that he could to help me in those scenes, and it was that wasn't a joke that day. That wasn't a joke.
You could hear. I remember, like when Lakeith gave you or rather offered to bring you the glass of Kool-Aid. You could hear his laugh, his heart blowing up. It was blowing up in our headphones. You could hear his just heart beating insanely rapidly. Mm. He was really I've never seen anything like that. I mean, from the morning that he, you know, as he was, I got a call from Sean Richards, our head makeup artist, that morning. She said, "Just so you know, Lakeith is throwing up in his trailer already." You know. And that was the whole day for that guy.
Wow. Yeah. Only thing I will say is I appreciate what everybody on that set, what all of you went through, because that's the reason why the film like hits you so hard as you watch it. It's why folks are talking about it. It's why it is a film that has just sort of jumped onto this conversation of this season and really just, you know, done incredible things, I think, to the films that we're able to have in this, albeit very strange award season, but knowing that there's stories like this out there is just incredibly inspiring. And yeah, congratulations again, Daniel, on I hope the first of many trophies that you'll be seeing this season. We got time for maybe one or two more. This one is about the music. So Shaka, you seem to include multiple discordant chords. Was that a choice tied to the film's central themes, or was it to sort of symbolize the presence of Judas among the Black Panthers as sort of an off or discordant note?
It wasn't cerebral. It was, you know, I heard the song "The Inflated Tear" by Rasan Roland Kirk years ago, and when I was writing the script, that song would always come to mind, so much so that when we took it out and pitched it to the studios, I would play that song in the pitch meetings. It's the song that you hear when O'Neill is casing the car and steals the car, and then it comes back later when Rel's character flashes the badge. And that song just, it felt like O'Neill, it felt like, it's just a very off-putting, grating, beautiful, sad, scary, holds a lot of things tone. And it was so powerful when we dropped it in the cut that our composers, Mark Isham and Craig Harris, they created an interpolation of it. And it's the strings that you hear at the end, it's the strings you hear over the opening titles, and interpolations of that song actually appear in string form throughout the rest of the movie because it's just such a powerful piece of music.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. The craftsmanship in this film, definitely, you guys, folks are starting to see the film now. So I hope that we get to have more conversations about it because it is truly incredible. I want to thank all of you so much for the conversation today. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Echoing Jacqueline.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much, Shaka, Dominique,
Thank
and
you guys.
Thank you.
Daniel.
Thank you.
Bye.
This has been a great conversation, and I have to say it's such a beautiful film. It's an important film, and it was really important for us to be able to do this tonight. So thank you again, and thank you, Jacqueline, for leading this such a deep dive into this film for us.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Bye.
Well, lastly, just thank you to our audience, as always for tuning in and for sending in your amazing questions. We got in so many tonight and they were all so good. I wish we could have gotten to more of them. We'll see you tomorrow night for our Aaron Sorkin tribute Q&A and also the Unreal Docs panel on Saturday morning. So looking forward to that. Thanks again for watching and have a great night.